everybody. Welcome to February Faith Formation. Our theme this month is the preferential option for the poor and vulnerable. Basically, that means that God has a special preferred place in his heart for people who don't have a lot of money, people who are orphans, people who are widows, vulnerable people, people who need a little extra help in life to get by. Newborn infants, people who are paralyzed, people who have significant mental illness, people who have lost their spouse, their husband or wife has died, people who are elderly, refugees, people who are new to the country, people who speak a different language than the place in which they live, all these different groups of people. So God loves each of us equally. We are all made in his image, and every person is loved and important. So when we say preferential, we don't mean like God loves them more. We just mean preferential in the sense that like they need more help. They need more care. So if, for example, we fundraise a bunch of money, we would prefer it to go to people who don't have a lot of money and not somebody that is a millionaire. If we have a food drive and get a lot of food, we would prefer it go to a food bank or families that don't have any food and to feed their children or enough money to buy food. We don't want to give it to somebody who is an extreme couponer and has like thousands of dollars in groceries already stashed in their house. So it just means that that God prefers some extra care and attention to go to the people who need it most. So not only are we called on to copy God and Jesus in this and show that care to others, we are also called on to protect these groups of people, to look out for them, to befriend them, and to just try to be kind people who treat everyone equally. Because that's what God talked about in the Bible. In the Old Testament, in the laws that he gave Moses to give the Israelites, he talked about how important it was for them to take care of people who were poor, orphaned, widows, or resident aliens, basically refugees. And then in the New Testament, Jesus said that again, and then he added to it. We should love these people. We should really have a heart to want to serve them and protect them and take care of them. And they're really blessed because even though they don't have a lot here on earth, God really loves them. So we could see this in the story from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 25, verses 31 through 40. It's in your packet, you can read it, but it's a super important passage in the Gospels where Jesus says to his disciples, basically, people who are going to be the most blessed are the people who feed people who are hungry, who clothe people who are naked, who give drink to someone who is thirsty, who was sick and got taken care of, the people who care for the sick or visit the imprisoned. Those people who take the time out of their daily lives to take care of the poor and the vulnerable are going to be extra blessed. Because every time we take care of somebody who is poor or vulnerable, it's like taking care of Jesus. So it's very important that we try to be as selfless as possible in our lives. There's a story in your packets. Again, you can read the full thing. It's about a family, the Laban family in the Philippines. But basically, they went to a hospital a couple hours away from home to have triplet babies. They had 5 older children at home. A hurricane hit their house and destroyed the whole town. And when the townspeople got money and supplies together to start rebuilding, they had to vote on who was going to get the first house. And they voted for the Labans to get the new house because they had 8 children, 3 new babies, and they recognized that they needed it the most. So even though these other townspeople didn't have houses either, instead of being selfish and saying, I want the first house, give it to me, they said, no, like this person needs it more, give it to them. So we are called on to be selfless in that way and to share Christ's love with others. And speaking of sharing, Lent is coming up. Starts February 22nd. Hopefully you all are pretty well versed in what Lent is. It's the 40 days before Easter, where we try to better ourselves and really reflect on and remember everything leading up to Christ's immense sacrifice for us. There's a couple different activities that we're doing in order to help us do that. In class, the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade group decorated a donation box for some hygiene products that we're going to be fundraising all during February to give to organizations that help the homeless. Give them things like shampoo, conditioner, razors, shaving gel, things like that. And then we also decorated jars as a family that are going to be coin collection jars. And those jars, during the Lenten season, if you could throw, some loose change, some dollar bills in there, and that money at the end of Lent is going to get collected and go to the Mother Teresa House, which is a organization that helps new moms and new babies to get diapers, food, clothes, toys, cribs, things like that. Poorer mothers that don't have the financial means to buy those things. So I also have a few things to go along with Lent. There's 3 pillars of Lent. You've probably heard of them before. First one is prayer. We should be praying more during Lent. We should try to add prayer in some way to our daily life, whether that's, before bed or first thing in the morning, before all our meals, reading the Bible 10 minutes a day, things like that. We should be almsgiving, again, charity, donation. And that doesn't necessarily have to be money or food or time. Money, food, or like clothes. It can be our time. You can serve at a soup kitchen. You can volunteer to, help a teacher after school, or to help a relative, cut their grass or shovel their snow. Any way that you can really give of yourself to help somebody else. And then lastly, we have fasting. You can fast from something that is good, that you enjoy, and just kind of give it up as a sacrifice, like video games, phone games, your favorite food, things like that. Or you can fast from bad things that you shouldn't be doing anyway, like cursing, lying, fighting with your siblings. So there is a checklist in your packets that can kind of help give you an idea of how to kind of follow through with some of those things. And there is a Lenten promises circles here where you can just write down, each of how you're going to celebrate each of the 3 pillars during Lent. There's a calendar that you can follow along with, where you have Ash Wednesday, and then obviously where the fish is, that's Fridays, where we fast from meat. The crosses is Sundays, where we go to Mass. And then on the bottom here, Palm Sunday, Sunday before Easter. And then Triduum, which is 3 days before Easter. Holy Thursday, which was the Last Supper and Christ's arrest. Good Friday, which is his crucifixion. Holy Saturday, where he is in the tomb. And then obviously we get to Easter Sunday, where he is resurrected. Follow along with that. And then there's a cross here. It's got 40 different things. Some of them are like, smile, try to have a positive attitude that day. Do a random act of kindness. Say a prayer as soon as you wake up. Celebrate Mass. Show some extra respect to others. Share with others. Be honest. Be thankful. And just try to make it that your attitude for the day. And when you've completed it, you can just kind of color it in or mark it off. And at the end, you'll have a mosaic cross with all of the things that you have accomplished during this Lenten season. And last but not least, there is the Stations of the Cross. It can be prayed any time of the year, but it is especially important to try to pray the Stations of the Cross at least once during the Lenten season, because the Stations of the Cross are 14 scenes basically from the time, the hours leading up to Christ's crucifixion. Important things, important events from the Bible, starting with when he was condemned to die, and then ending with when he was put into the tomb. So the Stations of the Cross are located inside of the church. They're on the walls. They're like little mini statues up on the wall that are like evenly spaced. Again, there's 14 of them, so you basically are doing a walking prayer around the church. And in your packets, there's this guided tour of the Stations of the Cross. So there's a preparation prayer before you start. And then there's each one of these stations, and then a short prayer to say at each one of those stations. And then all the way to the closing prayer. It should only take you about a half an hour. You do it with your parents or some friends, your siblings. Go around, pray the Stations of the Cross, and then really take some time to reflect on, again, the sacrifice of Christ and all that he has done for us. So I am looking forward to seeing you all in March, and I hope that you have a blessed start to Lent.